welcome to our channel. I'm Morgan.
And I'm Tammy.
And we are going to go through our end of the year reading wrap up for 2024.
We're going off of Storygraph, so we will link down below what our Storygraphs are, so you can go follow us on there. But it's really cool. They do a whole like stats for the year, so we're gonna go through our stats because some of them are like really surprising to see when it's all put out like that.
Yeah.
What's going on? So in 2024, I read 98 books.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I did a heck of a lot of reading last year, and 36,000 pages, which is insane to think about.
That is crazy. So I read 70 books, which is the most that I've read in a year. So I'm pretty excited about that. I want to like keep pushing the number up each year. But I read 23,000 pages. So I was excited about that.
My first book of the year was A Broken Blade. And then my last book I finished it was Bright Lights, Big Christmas.
Oh, did you like that one?
I did not.
No.
I mean, I gave it a 3. So
yeah,
it wasn't
I think
like the worst thing, but it was like, it was boring, I thought.
It was just kind of fun.
Yeah.
So my first book of the year was Iron Flame. And my last book of the year was How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. Did you end up reading that one?
Yes.
Okay, what do you think?
It was all right too. I kind of wish I would have listened to it because I feel like maybe I would have had a different experience listening to it than reading it.
I've heard that the audiobook is really, really good.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
They have like a full cast and everything. I really liked it, but I thought that it had absolutely no business being that long.
I did think it was like, it was little, and I didn't like the relationship between the sisters.
No, that was weird.
Their relationship was weird.
Yeah,
like I get
a few things
I have
that
a
I was
sister,
like,
so I get like that kind of stuff, but it was on the point of like mean to each other. And I was like, this isn't funny.
I think I gave it like a 3.5 or something like that. I don't know, but it was fun. Christmas books. Just never that awesome. Okay, let's see. What does yours say? Mine says, you explored the shadows of the human psyche, followed cryptic trails of secrets, and tethered on edges of anticipation. The narratives followed at a comfortable, engaging tempo.
Mine's that last part I had that the same, but mine says, you traversed landscapes of the heart, chuckled through witty escapades, and followed cryptic trails of secrets. Ooh. So books and pages per month. So my little graphic that we'll put up here is like, I had a really great June, July, August, and then I found out I was pregnant in September, and it just nosedived the rest of the way for the rest of the year, really. November was like really bad. I think I read one book in November, and then it creeped up a little bit in December, but like my first trimester, I had absolutely no motivation to read at all. Like I just got home from work, laid on the couch, and like doom scrolled on TikTok. Like I just...
As you should.
I couldn't pick up a book. I could not be bothered to listen, and I love audiobooks. Nope, I couldn't even do that either. So most of my 98 books were the first half of the year, and then it just went horrible.
Mine is a little inaccurate because for some reason it says that I didn't really read anything in October, but I just logged it in November. I still read a good bit in October. However, mine takes a nosedive around May and June, and I had my daughter in May, so not a lot of reading got done. I messaged her and I was like, did I really only read one book in June? And she was like, yeah, you had a baby.
Yeah, like you had other important things that you were trying to figure out. So genres is supposed to most time in 2024. This is no surprise to me. I had almost 60 books in romance, and that is no surprise for me. What did surprise me was my fantasy, which I would label myself a fantasy girl, but that was my third one, and it was less than 30 books. So romance and contemporary were my top ones.
Okay. Mine surprised me because I have not been a romance girly. I read like maybe one romance book a year, and apparently I read 23 this year. So that was my biggest category. And then, no surprise, thriller was my second biggest category, which is normally my first. I read 21 thrillers, and then I read 19 contemporaries, and then the rest is like fantasy and mystery. But that surprised me. Mm-hmm. Tammy made me a romance girl.
So my longest book, so this is not accurate because we moved from Goodreads to Storygraph, and Goodreads does not let you DNF a book, and so When the Moon Hatched, it says is my longest book, but I DNF'd that book, and now in Storygraph it's under my DNF, so this isn't very accurate about what my longest book, but that book is 718 pages. Whew. Like, that is too long of a book. And I'll tell you why I DNF'd it, because there was so much made up stuff, and like I've said before, I am a fantasy girl, so I understand that like places, like names, all these things are made up, but there was so much made up things in there that there is a index at the beginning, or a dictionary, whatever you want to call it, at the beginning of like what everything was. And I didn't have a physical book. I was on a Kindle reading it, and it was just so confusing. And maybe if I had a physical book and I could go to the front each time to be reminded about what something was. But again, like, that just seems unnecessary to have to keep figuring out, like, what is this word? Like, is it a dragon that we're talking about? Is it like something else? Like, it was just too much made up things. Mm-hmm. And then my shortest book was A Gift to His Dad, which was all spice and absolutely no plot. It was 102 pages, so literally I finished it in about 2 hours in an afternoon. I found these two girls on TikTok. I think I sent it to you on TikTok. And we'll have to see if they have a YouTube channel, but they went through like their like spiciest books. Have you seen them? They both have like a drink and their mics on the drink, and they're British, I think.
Oh, I
and they're talking about their like spiciest books that they read. And so they like said how this one was like really quick and like a Christmas themed book. And I was like, perfect. I will go and read that. And I did, and it was spicy, and that was it. Like, it went right from like the first page. I think it jumped right into it, so there was no build up. 102.
Okay, so I had to.
It got right into it, and so I mean, a gift to his dad. So, but it wasn't really his dad. It was like a stepdad and a son, and his son's girlfriend, and now they're a throuple.
Okay.
And then the average length of my books were 375 pages. And then it said it took me 6 days to finish each book on average.
Okay. My longest book was Iron Flame, which was 623 pages. Starting to dabble in fantasy. So, you know, there's not a whole lot of really super long books on here. But my shortest book was Evidence of the Affair by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and it was 88 pages. And if you like Taylor Jenkins Reid and you haven't read this, it's really good. It's about these two people who find out that their spouses are having an affair with each other, and they're just like writing letters to each other back and forth. And for 88 pages, like I got really invested. So really good. And then my average length of books was 347. The amount of time it took me to read books is not accurate. It says it was 13 days, but I just did not log when I finished things. I was kind of like saving everything and then like logging a bunch of them at once. So,
all right. We'll be better about that.
Yes, we will.
Okay, so least amount of time I spent was on The One by John Mars. This because I listened to it and I was going on a work trip that was about 6 hours away, so I listened to it at like 1.5 or 1.8 speed, so I was able to get through that whole book in one day. But it was really good. You've been recommending this one for a while, and I finally read it. It's about this like science that's been developed where they can figure out from your DNA who you're supposed to be with. And so you can take this test if you want to, and they'll email you who you're going to be with. But some of these people are already with someone else. They're married. It could be like they were straight, but then they're supposed to be the one with a man or a woman or whatever, someone of the same sex. And so it follows a whole bunch of different storylines, but it also has a little bit of a thriller aspect in there. And I really enjoyed that one. Mm-hmm. And then the most amount of time is How to Be Anti-Racist. That was 18 days. And I think that was 18 days because on Libby, it came in, I started reading it, but then another book I had been waiting for on Libby had come in, and I was like, oh, I need to read that. So I went through that one first and then went back to Anti-Racist. So don't know if it's truly accurate on the amount of time I spent.
Okay, so mine is not the most accurate because, like I said, I was like logging things at the end, but this says that my least time spent was reading 3 Holidays and a Wedding. And that is a Christmas book. It was pretty cute. So, I mean, yeah, I probably devoured that pretty quickly. I was reading a lot of Christmas books this year. It says that my most time spent was How My Neighbor Stole Christmas, and I did take a while to read that because that is ridiculously long for a Christmas book. But I do think that the longest that I took to read a book was actually Chain Gang All-Stars, and that's because I was trying to read that when I had just had a baby. So, reading a little bit here and there.
Authors you spent the most time with in 2024. This is absolutely no surprise to me. And it is Elsie Silver for me. And it's 10 books. So I read every single book that she has written. My third is Abby Jimenez with 6. And then Lauren Roberts with 3.
Okay. My top author was Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read 4 of her books this year.
That's kind of surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Abby Jimenez was my number 2. I read 3 of her books. And this is surprising. Lisa Jewell, I read 3 of her books, and I discovered I don't think she's for me.
Okay. Sometimes
I think one of them was decent. But, yeah.
My average rating was a 4.13. So, that's not bad, actually.
Yeah, that's a pretty good reading year. My average rating was a 3.8, which I do think is my highest average rating over the last, few years. So, I'll take it.
Yeah. My most ratings, this is not a surprise, I gave 58 books 4-star ratings. It has to be really bad for me to do that. And even the lowest I'll give is a 3. I don't think I've given anyone a 1 or a 2.
I hardly ever give a 1-star unless I feel the book is offensive. Mm-hmm. A 2-star, the book probably made me mad. But I really don't give 2 stars very often. And both of us very much feel there's a book, every book has an audience. So sometimes, 3 stars. 3 stars can be very it was fine, it was good. It's not my favorite, but other people would probably enjoy it kind of to me. Mm-hmm. I gave 4 2-stars. Now I want to, what? I gave 4 2-stars? And then 23 stars, 1 3.5-star, 21 4 stars, and 13 5 stars. How many 5 stars did you give?
23 5 stars.
That's a good reading year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a good bit. October was my highest average rating, so I read the most 5 stars in October, so go October.
Nice.
And then February was not my favorite month. That averaged at 3.8.
Okay.
And then my June, I read the most pages. I read 5,600 pages in June.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's see. So April was my highest average rating month at a 4.2. March was my least favorite month, I guess. And then November, I read 3,515 pages. So, which I think is a little bit combined with October. So.
Okay. So this next part's talking about other Storygraph users. So I did a reread of Pride and Prejudice, which is the most shelved book that I read for all that. It has 500,000 users have read that book. And then my least, which I think because it just came out, so it makes sense that it would be the least, is A Pumpkin Spice Meltdown by Kate Minty, who's one of our book friends. And it's just a leaf shelves. Like I said, it literally came out in November. So
yeah,
and Pride and Prejudice is a classic.
Yeah.
And then, so out of all the books I read, the highest rated one was Jesse's Big Rom-Com Adventure. And I gave it a 4 and it averaged a 4.6.
So my most shelved book is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which has almost 800,000 users.
Even more than Pride and Prejudice.
That's
Holy
crazy.
Moly.
By a lot.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then my least shelved is also The Pumpkin Spice Meltdown. It was a Thanksgiving book, so it, like
I
she
think
said,
it was independently published too. So
yeah. But that was definitely a really cute book, and we really enjoyed it. And then the book with the highest rating was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which was a 4.46 average rating, and I gave it a 5.
Right. So new authors. I read 58 new authors this year.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of crazy. 51 of those books that I read was part of a series. And then it is counting, technically I have 2 reread. Well, so maybe 3 rereads. That's not on here because it was Heartless, Pride and Prejudice, and Throne of Glass I reread.
Okay.
And then you finished up all your books this year. I had no DNFs that I could do in Storygraph. I would have if Goodreads would have let me DNF books.
Yeah. I explored 43 new authors, which is awesome. And then, let's see, 21 of the books that I read were part of a series. Let's see. No rereads. Really? Wow. That's shocking. Well, normally I reread the same series every year, but I guess I didn't this year. So, and then the only book I DNF'd, this is not accurate. What did I DNF? Oh, the only book that I DNF'd was The Spell Shop. And before anyone gets mad at me, it's not a hard DNF. It's just I wasn't vibing with it at the time, so I'll try it out again later. But yeah.
How many books did you read in 2024? And what is your 2025 goal?
Yeah.
My goal is 50 books this year, which is down from last year because I hopefully will be giving birth in May. And so my whole life is going to change.
Yeah.
So I am just keeping it low stakes and seeing how the last half of the year is going to go. So,
yeah. Unless you want to be like those people that count all these little teeny tiny books as books, and then you'll read like 400 books next year.
What's your goal for 2025?
My goal is going to be 75. I'm going to push myself just a teeny tiny bit to read a little bit more and hope that I read even more than that, but not have the pressure of reading even more. So we shall see.